Okay, and welcome to this new episode of Gaia's Voice podcast for the Meet the Goddess series. And today we welcome Calista. Calista is an award-winning author, pioneer of spiritual ascension, and a magical leader who embodies the essence of the teachings she brings forward. She's the creatress of the therapy modalities angel healing, unicorn healing, and Atlantean crystal healing. And Calista has attuned thousands of souls worldwide to the angelic, elemental, and crystalline kingdoms. And she believes by healing and empowering our lives will help all of creation to thrive. Her exciting new book, The Female Archangels, Evolutionary Teachings to Heal and Empower Your Life, went straight to #1 on the first day of its release, and it is the first book to solely profile who the female archangels are. So welcome, Calista. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Goddess, and everybody listening. Hello, welcome.
So today we are talking about how to connect with the female archangels, how to receive their amazing support, as we're going through such an interesting moment in the evolution of this wonderful planet we're living on. There's so much going on in our lives, personally and collectively, and to know that we can access the amazing support of these beautiful female archangels as help, as support. They're there to be with us. So yeah, I just would like you to speak to this and see what wants to come through.
Yeah, that's the best way. Just allow the angels to flow through. Yeah, that's a great word. Interesting. I think if those who are on our, if we're on our path, so we're aware of the shifts that are taking place, but for many, they're not. I like to call them the sleeping beauties, the sleeping beauties who are not aware of what's going on energetically. I think it's much more of a struggle, much more of a challenge for them. But nevertheless, the angels do not judge, and they're there for everybody. They're universal supporters and allies, especially the female archangels. And for so long, they haven't been represented. We've not been talking about them yet. They've always really been there. It was just our divine brothers, our big brothers, the archangels, who have always been depicted more in masculine form, a masculine sense. They were with us and present for the patriarchy, for the Piscean age. But once we made that shift into the age of Aquarius around about 2011, the female angelics began to take their focus from universal support and expansion to the earthly plane. And that was when they began to come into the system that I teach called angel healing, a hands-on modality. They started to come in, and now they are here. Then they've contacted many different teachers and light workers, people on their path, and we're starting to see their energy manifest in angel cards. People are putting like female angels on the cover. Diana Cooper just sent me her new deck called Archangel Oracle, and there's a female angel right on the front, which is awesome. Our angels, do they have gender? No, they don't have a gender. They're neither really male or female, but they manifest in a way that is relatable to us. And it's something that goes beyond gender. It's a state of vibration. And for so long, the masculine, we've been living in a masculine dominated society and culture and system, and that is beginning to crumble and dissolve. That's probably part of this struggle, this semen struggle, this dance that's going on so many different levels. But the Archeiai, the female angels, are here to address the balance and help us to discover what our inner feminine stories and wounding and limitation are, the parts of us that we've perhaps suppressed or denied or distracted ourselves away from. They're here to help us to see those parts, to love them fiercely, and to bring us all up into balance, because it's not just about the feminine, it's about the sacred masculine too, and bringing everybody into a state of balance as the world herself comes into a new state of being, a new state of balance. So that's really why the Archeiai are here.
Yes, and I love what you're bringing in, that is like one is not the rejection of the other, but it's just going to be like this wonderful balance between the feminine aspects and the masculine aspects, because as you said, it has been very masculine oriented, and that has brought it to an extreme, which is not helpful. But when we just can bring it back to a balanced place, yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And how did you get the call from the Archeiai in the first place? How did they come true for you?
So I used to be a cancer research scientist. It feels like another life. Had so many lifetimes in this one life, as I'm sure you have and your listeners. We're constantly like a butterfly, aren't we? Just going into our cocoon and then coming out again, finding new wings. But yeah, a big part of my path, I was a cancer research scientist, and it wasn't until 2006 I left, based on a number of reasons, but the driving force was definitely a sense of that world was just not for me anymore. And there was a bigger call, something was happening within me. And when I left, I set up a holistic business. I had clients who would come to me for Reiki and crystal healing, and I started to meditate on a regular basis and was met by different angels. And I had my first angel experience when I was 6 years old. I stayed at my grand's house often. My mum was a single mum, and my gran looked after me and my sister, and her house was haunted, and I was very aware of this man in her house. A long story short, I remember one night being so scared, and at 6 years old, you can't really comprehend what's going on, but I was really, really sensitive. And this spirit would come into the room, and I remember calling out for someone to protect me. And who came forward, I didn't know it then, but I know now, was my guardian angel, Seraphim, who of course is a female angel. So that was my first meeting, I guess. But it wasn't until around about 2006, 2007, when I began to meditate on a regular basis, the archangels, especially Raphael, who's one of my main teachers, main guides, began to come forward with a female. And I thought, is this a goddess energy? Is this archetype? Like, who is this being? And I've just realized I've got our colors on just now. And she is Archeiai Virtue, who is the other half of Raphael, the expression that is feminine. She comes forward with a lovely heart-centered green energy, and pink as well, the energy of forgiveness. And she teaches us that every act of healing, whether healing for self or holding the space for another, has to involve forgiveness. Forgiveness of herself, forgiveness of another, forgiveness of an experience or the environment. So anyway, she came forward. She didn't have a name at that time, or she didn't give me the name. And I had to just trust the path, trust what I was receiving. I connected with them on a regular basis and began to understand who angels are in general, why they're here, the interplay of the masculine and the feminine. And so there was no teachers at the time talking about female archangels. So I just went straight to the angels themselves, and I trusted. But because I had that science background, I tested the angels, and I still inspire that in other people. Always test your guides, test the angels. Don't just assume somebody in spirit that's shown themselves as this enlightened being is who they say they are, just like in the human world. Test them, and those that are true and actually for you will be more than happy to give you the signs or the synchronicities or the symbols for you to have that strong relationship with them.
Yes, that's very important. I love that. That is because otherwise we get into that place where we're just believing whatever we're being told, and then it can get into that funny place as well, I find, of believing you're listening to a guide, but you're actually listening to the patterns in your head also, and then some guides are coming through following those patterns, and they're not actually being helpful. So we can get misguided if we're not dropped in, and that's why it's so wonderful to be able to actually have access to teachers like yourself, and that can offer that guidance through courses. And
because it's missed so much. I think it's missed so much in the New Age world. A lot of the New Age teachings are, just turn yourself on, be the light. But the thing is, when you're the light, everything is attracted to you. So you have to bring in a sense of discernment in the spiritual world. And yeah, as you said, that's often missed, but it's needed, especially as we navigate these times. We have to be sure that what we're connecting with is for us, just like the relationship, our physical relationships. Are they for us? Are they nurturing? Are they supportive? Yeah, it's really, really important, definitely, to bring in discernment. And that is certainly a teaching of the Archeiai. It's a teaching of the feminine overall, isn't it? To trust your gut, to trust your senses, to not be influenced by other people or other beings, but really trust your innate wisdom, because we all have it. We're neither, some of us may be further along the path, but we're still all headed the same way at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yes. And you spoke about having made a big change in your life from your previous career and work to what you're doing now. And we've all been through different changes. I have changed quite a bit. I used to be a horse riding instructor.
Oh, wow.
And that is what I'm doing now. So it was a big change as well. But in these times, it seems like a lot of people are coming to have to face big changes. And as they're awakening, as they're coming to understand what's happening and feeling more into the reality that we're living, and some, as you say, find it more challenging than others, but we are actually being called to make changes. And these changes can be quite extreme in cases. So I'm wondering, is there how can the Archeiai help with this? How can we connect and ask for support to go through these transitions that we're being facing?
Yes. Did you just say faith? Because that's the angel that's coming in, right?
I didn't, but yeah, faith, I think, is a big part.
I heard your last word is faith, because that is the angel who's stepping in right now. Archeiai Faith is, of course, the other half of Archangel Michael. And when I say other half, the way I mean is like a card, like, an oracle card is two sides, but in essence is one card. Incidentally, this card that I just picked up says problem resolved, which of course is the energy of faith. She helps us to resolve our problems. But yeah, she's stepping forward right now to remind us that we all have this cord to the angels. We can connect with them and invite them into our reality for support at any given time. And there's no requests that are too big for the angels. In truth, they represent our higher self. Now, our higher self, we can be annoyed at our higher self sometimes because perhaps we're not seeing the full perspective as our divinity does. But the angels, like our higher self, only have our best interests at heart, our best interests. And they're never going to exert themselves into our experience. We have to invite them. We have to invite in the presence of our higher self or the presence of our angels to come in for support. It's got to be a two-way relationship. As you know, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, angels operate through divine will. So they can't come into our experience unless we invite them. And what I find from teaching angel healing since 2009, so 12 years, is a lot of the times people will say, I don't hear my angels, I can't see them. And I will say, have you invited them to show themselves or to come into a conversation with them? And they'll say no, because I think a lot of the time people just think the angels are going to come in, they're going to read a script, which is like the answer to all their problems. They're going to tell them what their life purpose is and everything. No, it has to be a sacred conversation and a consistent conversation. So my best advice is carve out the time every day to connect with your angels, enter into a conversation, journal the insights, but also do the work yourself. You know, don't just think that your angels are going to do everything for you. They're there to help and to nudge and plant seeds, just like your higher self. But we're here for a reason, and we're physical for a reason. So often we need to do the physical inspired action and work as well.
Yes, you touched on something really important there that we often forget, is asking, and asking requires a level of allowing ourselves to receive also. And most of my listeners are women, and as women we really have this programming that we need to do everything ourselves and do it like at the best, just to be worthy, just to be accepted. But actually to open up to receive and ask for support is such a key part. And I guess it is that beautiful true feminine essence that comes through then, like that openness to receive that starts with asking for support.
It does. That's part of the inner feminine conditioning and indoctrination, because we really have been indoctrinated in so many, our belief systems, the way that we do things, and that's it. Females, whether you're a female in body or identify as a female, if that's more of your energy or your essence, then there is that capacity to struggle and to not ask for help. And you know, as a single mother of 3 young children running a business, I know what it's like. I have to get out of my own ego and ask for help. But for a big part of my life, I didn't. I thought I could do it all. And then who suffers? You suffer. Your family suffers. Your business suffers. Everything happens. Everything starts to crumble. And again, we come back to this balance. We've got to, as you say, be receptive, ask for support, speak our truth, and share that. When things are getting overwhelming, we share that. We share our vulnerabilities, and there's such strength and sharing and letting people know, you know, how you're feeling and share who you are, rather than this sort of projected aspect of self that is projected from conditionings, it's projected from stories, it's projected from ancestral patterns. Like, that's all just BS. We have to be able to resolve that and go, you know what, I'm just going to be my true self. This is what I need to share, and just share and be expressive in that way.
Yes. Yeah. Yes to that. A million times, yes. And how Yeah, talking about conditioning and programming. So you said that you had your first experiences when you were very young. And I resonate with that a lot because yeah, I've had very strong experiences when I was just a little child, and then and then that was put away because of being ridiculed and being made fun of. I remember as a little kid, just I'm going off talking to my dragon friend, and that just can,
Yeah.
be a problem at the crash. So it's like, how did you how did you go through that phase, or did you find that there was a phase where this was really difficult?
Oh yeah, most certainly. I mean, growing up, there's a lot of family members that were spiritualist mediums and healers, and even though that sort of thread of spirituality ran through our family, there was still a lot of people around me that didn't believe. And as I grew up, I never really fit in. I think a lot of us who are here, awakened beings, a lot of us did not fit in, and we always felt that we were different. We were highly sensitive, perhaps, and we saw the world completely different. And now there's so many different labels to that, isn't there? Like autistic and highly sensitive and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the vibration the vibration's different, isn't it? And I believe all of the world is coming up to that vibration anyway, and it's fine. But that lends itself to seeing spirit and to seeing dragons and fairies. And yeah, I remember speaking to fairies when I was young and picking up a crystal and kissing it and talking to it and putting it under my pillow. I remember that wasn't taught to me. It was just natural. But yeah, as I grew up, I turned down that side because I wanted to fit in. I couldn't understand it. There wasn't really many people around me. I was often, alone speaking to guides rather than actually physically with friends. And there was a point where I thought, right, this has just got to change. And so in order to fit in, I guess I just dumbed down that side of me and went into the academic side, got my degree, and really, just became very hardened and cynical. And it's a shame, isn't it? But then that's part of our experience. It's part of our learning and our path. And I wouldn't change a single thing. I don't have any regrets. But it's wonderful now. Don't you see, in this new generation, people are awakening, and it's almost like they don't have to go through that big sort of that valley of doubt and uncertainty. It's almost like they're awoke. There's so many people around, there's so many spiritual teachers, and they can just carry on. Whereas I think a lot of our generation, we were sensitive as children. We shut it down because of an experience or peer pressure. And then at a later date, it emerged again.
Yes, and I believe it's also part of we're able to offer support to people that might be going through this phase, because we have been there. We have had the moments where we wanted to fit in, we wanted to shut it all out, we wanted to just be normal. And and now, like, when someone is going through that transition, we actually have the capacity to be there and go, yeah, well, we have been there. So it doesn't have to be this hard and such and such. So that's a really wonderful support that it's available now. I love, and I'm blown away by the amount of support that is actually available right now at this moment. It's such an exciting time to be here and receive. And there is the support from the physical beings like you, like many amazing teachers that are here on the planet. And then there is available all the support that we're getting from the archangels, the archeiai, the unicorns, the dragons. They're all coming through the help.
I know, it is a wonderful time. And it just, all it takes is that shift in perspective from this is a challenging transitional period to, you know what? Look what was available and at our fingertips. We're surrounded, and sometimes there's too much information, there's too much support, and it can be like, oh, what do you choose? And again, we have to circle back to discernment and trusting what feels good in terms of courses and teachers and everything like that. But yeah, it is a really blessed time that we're living in right now, and it's an exciting time, and never before have we had such an expanded vibration. You know, the collective consciousness of humanity is raising. It, yes, a little bit slow, but we're getting there nevertheless. And we are surrounded. There's ascended masters around the earth at all times. There's the unicorns, the dragons, as you say, the angels. And all we have to do is literally just raise our gaze, raise our perspective, and invite in these beautiful beings to support our life. And yeah, that's really all it takes. And just to be aware of them, ask for the signs, the symbols, the synchronicities. If people are doubting, if there's any listeners here that are maybe just coming to begin their spiritual journey, ask for the signs, ask for symbols and synchronicities that your guides are with you, so that you can begin to create a strong foundation of trust. That's really important to begin with, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is. And I believe there's also something that you could speak to as well, which I remember when I restarted coming onto this path. So after the period of just denying it, I didn't know how to talk, because we've been indoctrinated that the higher spirits are the kind of religions related, and they need to be approached with fear and with certain language, and only some people can do that, and the normal people can't do that. So there was like this fear of, how do I actually start talking to an archangel or to a guide, or to and that was putting me off for a time, because I was afraid to say something that would be inappropriate or just not not right to be said to these incredible beings. Mm-hmm. So that's something I believe that you could speak to, would be very helpful for everyone.
Yeah, because I guess a lot of the older New Age books will talk about certain prayers or certain invocations that you can use to open up that pathway to certain angels and beings. My best advice would be, instead of invoking and declaring this being to come into your reality, invite them. Invite them, so there's no expectation. It's almost like we wouldn't go outside into like a busy town or a busy center and just connect with anybody and bring them home and invite them to live with us without some form of relationship, getting to know them. We wouldn't just say, you come here, I pull you into my reality. We wouldn't do that. We have to invite them. So yeah, in angel healing, we started because I was on my path. I was learning. We would put in the manual, invoke Archangel Michael, and this is the way. And now it's all completely changed. It's you can invite Archangel Michael in, and if Archangel Michael wants to step in, he'll step in. But there's no, I'm declaring it. Equally, on the other side of that, we have to realize that angels are not higher than us. To put them on a pedestal is another way that blocks our communication. Archangel Raphael shares that humankind and angel kind, the only difference is the fact that angels are non-physical. That is the only difference. We all come from source. We're all in a state of evolution. The angels have their own evolution. They're still learning and advancing. And we can help that by having a co-creative relationship rather than a relationship that says, come here and cater to my beck and call, everything that I want. Instead, it has to be an invitation. And you create this partnership by talking with them, by asking loving Archangel Michael, how can I support you? Which is never talked about. And I've never seen that written in books. But there has to be this two-way. Same with the unicorns and the dragons. How can I, when you connect with your spirit guide, for example, how can I support your evolution? What can I do? Rather, because it always seems to be a utilitarian, do this for me, don't you think?
Yes. Oh, yes, that's very, very true. And have like a conversation that is a two-way traffic in the most beautiful way. And I found that when you approach it that way, they can be really engaging and also very funny. I've had really really funny answers like that. You can have a real laugh.
Yeah, it normally comes back to you like something that you can bring in, because of course the more that we can be in our joy, the more that we're in a state of alignment, and then the communication that we have with our guides is seamless because we're at a same point of vibration as they're at.
As you were speaking, it came back to me about asking for testing these guides and testing the angels. And I remember we were in a really difficult period of our life just a few years ago, and like economically we were in a place, like myself and my partner, that was really, really hard, and we didn't have much money at all. And I was praying to Archangel Michael every single night. Like I just always had this really strong connection, and at the time I hadn't come across any of the Archeias yet, and Archangel Michael was just the one. And then all of a sudden 3 clients show up, and in the space of very short period of time for our holistic business, and they're all called Michaels. And it was like so funny. I actually said it to my partner, did you notice that they're all Michaels? And that was, I guess, it was a very tangible proof of I'm here, I am supporting you, and this is happening. And
Archangel Michael has such a sense of humor. I'm not surprised he did that. I'm not surprised. He said to me once, so I was at a time in my life, it was round about 2010. Yeah, 2010. And I was at a point in my life where I had a holistic center. And I was looking for my partner. I was wanting my partner. I wanted my truest love at that time to come into my life. And Michael said to me, he will come into one of your workshops. And I just laughed, because the only guys that would come to my workshops at that time were retired men or gay men. And I was like, Michael, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be in a relationship. But no, he was insistent. And and I forgot about this. I surrendered it and let it go. And we were doing like monthly different Archangel workshops. And there was one workshop called Archangel Michael workshop, of course. And it was all about Michael. And lo and behold, this beautiful man came in. He was neither 60 plus or gay. And he came in, and I heard Michael saying to me, that's the one. That's the one. And just so happened to be in an Archangel Michael workshop, but it just had to have the spotlight on him. It was so funny. But yeah, this is it. Life becomes so magical and so fun when we begin to have this co-creative relationship. It doesn't have to be with angels. It could just be with our spirit guides, especially unicorns. Wow. When we come to bring in unicorns and ask for their energy to come into our life, it really becomes fun and magical. Yeah. And we have these events that happen to us that you could not just make up.
Absolutely. I remember doing your unicorn retreat the last it was last year, not the very last one that you did, but and I remember like beginning to notice there were literally 4 rainbows in one day. It was just like I have never seen in the space of a week though that many rainbows around. And then like I started noticing that there were actually unicorns everywhere in my house, and I had never, and I placed them there, and it was like I didn't even realize that happened, but it's like they all of a sudden started lighting up and going, well, we were here all along, just you were not paying any attention to us. Like, okay.
There you go. And your background with horses too. That's really going to strengthen your connection with them.
Yes, there was one specific horse that I remember I was having this really breakdown in the stable, and I was crying my eyes out, and she came over and she was like, I have been here all along, and I am a unicorn. And she's like a piebald cob. You would not picture it that way. You know, she's not like a pretty white horse. And I've noticed that she's the one that always makes me feel her feed more. She's like, she has this like power of intention by which, without realizing it, she's the one that gets fed the most. And she's like, it's totally done on purpose. So they have a beautiful, magical, funny way of coming into our life, and I really, really love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always appreciated how you bring that through. Like it's very part of the way you teach and the way you explain things, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, spirituality, I think, it's taken way too serious, you know, and the more that we can have fun, the more our energy raises and expands anyway. So yeah, why not just take things lightly to enlighten at the end of the day?
So yeah. So when we were talking earlier, before we started recording, we sort of mentioned that Archeiai grace could be coming through perhaps in the space. And I felt how that was like really appropriate, because in my experience right now, more than ever before, there's such an importance in bringing grace into our lives, into everything that we do, into our interactions with other people, especially when we feel like we get challenged. You know, like I don't know, do you experience that right now? But sometimes we could go out into the world and it can be there can be challenges, we get poked a little bit.
Oh,
and
yes.
to actually just bring that grace in the way we interact, we bring forward our own beliefs, our own views, and it's so important. So
yeah, she is definitely with us. I just want to talk a little bit about an experience with grace. So when I was writing the book, The Female Archangels, when I came to write her chapter, in fact, every chapter focuses on one particular archeia, and during the time of writing, that particular angel was really influencing my life. And that's the way that the archeia differ from the archangels. Rather than coming into a meditation and dropping insights, the archeia seem to, I guess it's the feminine way, they'll really come into your experience and be with you, not just for the duration of that meditation session, but like the whole day or the whole week. So as I was writing Archeiai Grace's chapter, I was really challenged, just like many of us are. And then that underlying weave of grace begins to come into our life if we're asking for it anyway. So my dad had just passed in spirit, and it was a couple of days before Christmas, so it's a hard time anyway to lose somebody so significant. Coming home from his funeral, myself and my fiance at the time split up. There was just so much going on, and I was under pressure to get the book finished. There was other things, but the main thing that really stood out was I was so angry at my dad. I was angry at him leaving. I was angry for the relationship that we had in the physical. I was angry for what he represented in relation to the sacred masculine influences, all my relationship, like everything to do with the masculine. I was annoyed at. I was annoyed is such a soft word. I was angry. Let's face it, I was angry. And I remember being in the bath, and Archeiai Grace came in, and she said, just feel your feelings, like just feel the anger. Stop trying to, you know, when we're, especially as women, we get into such heightened states of when we're really feeling our emotions, we really feel it. And often we can deny them or suppress them or distract ourselves from them. And Grace was, it was almost like I could not get out of the bath until I could just be in the anger and let it and feel it. And she, in that moment, gave to me a process called Divine Alchemy, and it's in the book, and it's to help anybody when they're experiencing an intense emotion or intense situation in their life to face it and sit within it and begin to breathe into it and almost go within and look to the medicine, why it's coming up, then go to the underlying dynamic or the layer, feel that, go down again, continue this process until you get to the real root of why that certain emotion or intensity is coming. And that's what I did. And she helped me. I can feel it now, even just talking about it, the same experience, the intensity that I was in at that juncture in my life. But she helped me through this process of divine alchemy to get to the root and arrive at a point of forgiveness for my dad, for what he did and didn't do in my life, and was able to let go of everything that he represented, let go of all the wounding of the masculine that I was carrying with me, and got to a place where I was able to make friends with my dad and see him past the identification as dad and just see him as another being. And we have a relationship now that is so wonderful. And I can actually say for the first time in my life, we have a relationship. We never did in the physical. He was an abusive, absent father. But now as a spirit guide, he's present and loving and supportive. And it was that grace, it was the energy of grace and the angel grace that helped me to move through the feelings by understanding them, by looking at the medicine and arriving at the root. And this process is in the book. I know it's helped many, many people. And it's what is needed right now for us to really, to just stop the distraction, to stop the numbing of herself. And as I'm talking about this, Archeiai of Freedom is coming in. So she is the other half of Archangel Jeremiel. And she's tasked at the moment to help us to awaken our navel chakra. You know, between our root and our sacral, an area that's not often looked at, and an area that a lot of women will put a lot of weight around their tummy to sort of protect themselves from. But she helps us to feel our navel. Why? Because our navel holds within it our divine blueprint, our divine essence, our gifts, our talents, everything that's on the other side of unworthiness or suppression, or, she helps to awaken and activate that. And I know this is a long reply to your question, but this is what happens. They just come in one by one by one, and they all help each other. It's a co-creative sort of dance when you work with Archeiai. That's not just Archangel Michael, you have an experience, then you can go on to say Raphael. No, they all work and they all weave together. It's beautiful. It's almost like a dance they're showing me right now, the dance of energies. And that really is the feminine.
Mm.
I could
There's a
talk,
lot
talk, talk.
there. Oh no, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And yeah, there was so much power in what you said, because we've been misguided, and there's been a misinterpretation at times of emotions and feelings and what we're going through, to try and transcend all the time. And this bypasses the feeling part. It kind of bypasses that embodied moment of feeling that emotion, and then, as you say, going in underneath the layers, layer after layer, and there's plenty of layers, I find at times, and then finding that root cause, and then there's like that little key that makes a shift, that we can then go to the new level. It's like, okay, I've dealt with that part, and now I can see my father, as you say, with this new light, and open up to this new relationship. And then perhaps there are other layers to it. It doesn't always happen like as you describe.
Oh,
I've been in my
yeah.
experience, there's been times where I think I've like, oh, I've gotten to the root of it, but no, I've gotten to like a layer, and then there's like more there to explore. But it's beautiful that you brought in that female embodied way of actually exploring that, which is why we're also in this physical, beautiful place, body and planet that we're on. It's just to feel all of this, and to feel their chaos working together also kind of brings through how, as women, there's been a lot of indoctrination as to be kind of competing quite a lot with each other. That is so untrue, is so not necessary. And so it's beautiful that they're also bringing through this aspect of weaving in together and dancing and co-creating.
Yeah, exactly. There's no competition in heaven, that's for sure. Right at the back of the book is an A to Z prescription list. They call it angel healing prescription, and there's like different things from, it'll list physical ailments like sciatica and fatigue and what angels to bring in. But I was fascinated when I was channeling the list through. It also had social media comparison. Like, what are the angels? What are the perfect angels to bring in? And what is the procedure to follow for social media comparison, for feeling undervalued or unworthy when we see all these posts? And a lot of the time, I think we have to understand, a lot of the time, people are not sharing their true reality. They're just sharing a snippet, and perhaps that snippet has got a filter on it, a literal filter, a physical filter, and an energetic one. It's not true. So I think a lot of the time people are comparing and competing with one another, and it's not actually, they're not competing with somebody who's being authentic. It's just a sort of mask. So we have to understand that. And then the underlying dynamic of competition is not feeling worthy of self, is not accepting ourselves. So why don't we just look at that instead of, having to compare ourselves against another? Because as you say, the feminine is integrative. It's bringing everything into wholeness. It's not separating ourselves in any way. I think if I was able to do one thing, have you ever had that question where if you were the president, what would you do? If there was one thing you could do, it would be to remove this comparison of our bodies, comparison of our intellect, comparison of our creativity. Like, it's all just BS. I don't know if I can swear on your show, but it is. It's all yeah. Bullshit. I hate it, and I wish I could just remove that from the earth, because I fell into that for so many years, and it actually makes me sad to think about that, the way I used to compare my body and intellect and everything. And God, we're all so beautiful in our own way. We're all beautiful. every time I do a video, I'll say, hi, beautiful souls, because we're all beautiful. We all have a uniqueness, a quality. Of course, we're all souls, but in our beautiful bodies, whether they're big, curvy, small, tall, it doesn't matter. We're individualized source consciousness here to have this gift of an experience and to live with gusto, gusto and grace. We need both, and grit. We need all of them.
Oh yes, oh yes, and I love that kind of connects a lot to the navel chakra, because that's where it is. It's like we bring all of that unworthiness in the size of our bellies and the shape of our bellies, and it's like our bellies are delicious. Are absolutely delicious in every shape.
Oh, they so are. Archeiai Charity, who's the other half of Archangel Shamuel, she's depicted in the book, and the colored version of the book's coming out soon, so everybody will be able to see the colored version of the angels, which is lovely. But when we were channeling through the imagery, she specifically asked for big breasts. So if you look at her picture, her breasts actually look sort of out of proportion of the rest of her body. But she said, yes, big breasts, because she says that love, and she is the angel of love, love is curvy and bold and delicious. It is. It's like a big sort of fecund, gorgeous goddess. That's what love is. So yeah, she has these big bosoms. It's so funny.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. What else wants to come true now, as we have the last 10-15 minutes together, and if there's any specific message, anything that you feel wants to come through now?
So Archangel Gabriel is coming in with Archeiai Hope. So this angel connects us with communication. And the way that this angel is directing communication, it's back to ourself rather than an outward communication. It's an inward communication to our inner child. So Gabriel and Hope help us to have a conversation with the aspect of us that is still the inner child, because that aspect lives within us as much as the many other aspects and archetypes do. But it's the inner child right now that there's a lot of focus upon, connecting to our inner child to understand why we do the things that we do, the habitual patterns, the consciousness, the habits, the addictions. Why do we do the things that we do? Because often they're rooted in our childhood. So if we can have a conversation with our inner child and understand, okay, what are we not seeing, or what have we repressed? That is somehow the root of our habitual patterns. Then we will bring so much freedom into our being, so much joy. And so Gabriel and Hope is inviting us to go into meditation and to connect with our inner child. Do you want to do that now? Should we do that now?
Yes, we can. Yeah, why not?
Let's do it now. Okay, I'll get comfy. Okay, so if we all just close our eyes, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're driving, maybe do this part later. Just close your eyes and take your awareness to your heart. And just breathe into your heart for a few easy breaths. Letting go of anything that has happened before this now moment. And letting go of everything that will happen after this now moment. As you come into the comfort and the peace of the presence being present. And we invite in Archangel Gabriel and Archeiai Hope to be with each of us now, having our own unique experience. And this angel is guiding us to come into a place in nature where we feel most comfortable. And just imagine the scene, whether a garden, a beach, a field, sitting by a river. And just take a moment to enjoy this special place. Breathing in the fresh, clear air. Perhaps smelling the scent of the flowers and the environment around you, maybe feeling the sun on your face. And allow any concerns or worries simply to dissolve as you fully relax now. And we're now going to invite our inner child to come forward. And just ask your higher self, at what age is best for me to connect with my inner child? And you'll hear an age, whether 6, 7, 8. And then invite your inner child to come into this scene and sit before you. Smile to your inner child. And just take notice of what they look like, what they're wearing, how they're feeling. And we're going to now communicate with our beautiful inner being. And this is a heart-centered conversation, so allow your heart to be completely open, seeing their heart open too. Asking your inner child, what would you like me to support you with at this time? What would you like me to support you with? Listening, observing, sensing, and trusting that first response that comes through. And now ask how your inner child can support you. What are they telling you? And accept the loving guidance from your inner child. Reassure them that you're going to take the time to meet with them on a regular basis and continue this conversation. How can you, as an adult, in the perspectives that you have, support them? And how can your inner child support you? And then begin to go over to your inner child and give them a hug. Reassure them that you see them. Open your heart to them. And sometimes even just acknowledging that your inner child lives within you can be so restorative, so healing. And then invite your beautiful inner child to either sit within you, to integrate, become more integrated, or just tell them that you'll meet them again here to continue this conversation. Taking a big breath in and a full breath out. Bringing back all the love and support of your inner child as you open your eyes. Do you want to share what your inner child?
Oh, thank you. That was so
guided?
beautiful. She wanted to go pick flowers. And she was like, I'm going to teach you how to pick flowers. I was like, that's so beautiful. So we went picking daisies.
Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah, it was just really moving. Really, really moving. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Sometimes just as Gabrielle is saying, sometimes just acknowledging that aspect of ourselves and giving our inner child a voice, a space to share can be really, 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 really moving and enlightening as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful. It is really, really beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and I also know that you have a wonderful workshop coming up about angel healing on the 1st of May.
Yes, for Beltane. When the angels always schedule the dates, and then later I look and it'll be on a new moon or a full moon or a Beltane. So yeah, that's going to be the next level 1 angel healing course. So angel healing is spread over 3 teaching degrees. Level 1 is a whole day, a whole immersive online live stream event where people can connect with their guardian angels, but also 34 different angelic beings, including the Archeiai and the Archangels. And they receive attunements to these beautiful beings and learn how to give hands-on healing for themselves and for others. And we go on wonderful adventures. It's a really, really beautiful course. So that's happening May 1st. So if anybody is interested, please come and connect with me. You can find me at calistaascension.com or Calista Ascension on Facebook and Instagram.
That's wonderful. Yes, and I'm also going to have all of those details to get in contact with Calista in the description of this video. So they'll be able to find you and connect with you and ask more about your beautiful work and your coming courses and workshops. And of course, there's that gorgeous book of the Female Archangels that, yeah, that's a must. It's an absolute must.
And there was a book that came out after mine called The Female Archangels. So just to be aware of that, if you're on Amazon, there's 2.
Right.
I know, it's totally random. So if you just put in The Female Archangels Calista, you'll get the right book.
That's wonderful to know. Yeah, that was an amazing conversation, and so much came through, so much beautiful wisdom, and we were joined by so many beings. It was like I actually felt like we were in a full circle. There were many around us. So is there anything else?
I just want to thank them. I just want to thank the archangels and Archeiai that came through, the dragons and the unicorns, for holding space for us all, and maybe continue to work together in our own way to help raise the vibration of this beautiful mother planet as she's going through her own process of awakening. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Calista, and thanks everyone for watching and listening. I wish you a wonderful day filled with love and light, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes and events. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Join our growing international sisterhood at Free to Be a Goddess on Facebook. Join a tribe of women free to be their beautiful, wild and sacred selves, safe and supported. Find the link in the description.